Hey, what's going on, everyone? Dr. Taylor, Aspire Chiropractic. I want to give you some good news today. I want to give you some real good news. This should make you feel better. You don't have a weak core. Moreover, you should stop training your core. That says training. You should stop training your core in hopes that it's going to fix your low back problem. Now, I didn't say stop training entirely. I said stop training if the goal of training your core is to fix low back pain. Why is that? Because your weak core isn't causing your low back pain. The exercises you're doing isn't necessarily going to help your low back pain. Why is that? Because if we take a peek at this guy here, this is going to be you, okay? There's the base of your head. There's your spine. There's your hips and pelvis. We've got our ribs going through here in the middle. And we're looking at you from behind. Now, on the opposite side of this, on the other side, because we're looking at the back here, we're going to have our ab muscles. There we go. We've got our obliques here. Now, we've flipped this whole thing around, and all of these muscles are attached to our spine, right? They all come around back, and they attach to the spine, or up in front with the abs, they attach to our rib cage in front of our pelvis. But if this thing back here is jacked up, this thing being your spine is jacked up, you can train your core all you want. It's not going to do anything. It's not going to fix the problem. You're training muscles that are attached to joints that aren't working properly. Be like let's say you drove here and you wanted me to do an assessment. You're like, hey, I got some low back stuff. I've been doing these PT exercises that I found online or on TikTok or whatever. And I was told via the internet that they're going to fix my low back pain. They haven't. And also, unbeknownst to you, Dr. Taylor, but when I drove here, I noticed the front driver's side tire of my car was shaking. So before I showed up here, I also stopped at the mechanic to get that checked out. And the mechanic said, "Oh, I see that the tire is shaking." And you're like, "Well, yeah, that's what I stopped here for." And the mechanic goes, "Hey, you know what you should do? I want you to drive an extra 10 minutes a day, and that will fix that shaky tire." You'd be like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. If I've got a faulty wheel, if I've got a faulty mechanical thing going on, and if I do that mechanical thing more, it'll fix the problem? No, you would find a new mechanic. That's asinine. That's absurd. Same kind of thing. If we've got troubles in our spine, if any one of these vertebrae in here are bent or torqued or twisted and they're all kind of jacked up, because again, remember, your spine is just a flexible bony tube with these things stacked one on top of another like so. But if these aren't bending, twisting, or moving in the proper way, or we've got one that's all messed up like that, the muscle's attached to that thing. So you can work those muscles all you want. That's not going to fix that misalignment. That's not going to fix that subluxation. That's not going to fix the way your body is actually working and moving. All you're doing is you've got this faulty joint and you're moving it more. You're not correcting the malposition. You're not correcting the subluxation. You're not correcting the way that thing actually moves. You're just moving it more in its misaligned position. My driver's side tire is shaking. What are you going to do for it? I'm going to drive it more. Why are you going to do that? Well, I was told if I drive it more, it'll fix it. If I move it more, it'll fix it. Sounds kind of silly when you put it together like that, right? So your weak core has nothing to do with your weak muscles. Now, you might have weak muscles, but everything in your body is controlled by the nerves that come out of your spine, and the muscles in your core attached to either A, your ribs, which are attached to your spine, or B, your spine itself. So if our spine is jacked up, if we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, who knows how many vertebrae that are bent and torqued and twisted, if we've got all these individual bones in here that are supposed to be able to move on their own, but you've got one here and one here that's jacked up and not moving properly, that's going to cause issue in the joints above and below. That's going to cause, especially if they're in your thoracic spine, in your rib cage, that's going to affect how your ribs move when you breathe. You know what? I got low back pain and I don't feel like I can take a big breath. I get winded easily. Well, what's your spine look like? Well, I don't know. I've just been doing a whole lot of crunches and bird dogs and dead bugs. Okay, well, how's that affected your low back? That remains unchanged. Interesting. How long have you been doing these exercises? 4 weeks. And no improvement? No, not a lick. Okay, maybe it's time we actually look at the source of the pain, the source of the problem, the source of the dysfunction. Hell, the source of these muscles not being activated, not being allowed to fire properly. Because again, muscles are dumb. God love them. They only do what they're told. This is a muscle, okay? And all muscles are situated and oriented the same way. And all they can do is pull. That's the only thing a muscle does. It does exactly what it's told. And when it's told to pull, it pulls. And when it's told to relax, it relaxes. So, but it does this and it moves these bones. So if these bones are in a situation in which they cannot be moved, the joint isn't working right, the bone isn't situated or oriented right, then that muscle isn't going to be able to pull as effectively as it otherwise would. And what are you going to do? You're going to hop on TikTok and you're going to search low back pain exercises. And then you're going to start doing, bicycle sit-ups and V-ups and stuff like that and cat cows. And your stuff isn't going to go away. Why? Because you didn't address the actual problem. Muscles are supposed to move bones. If the bones aren't moving properly, then the muscles are just working against themselves. You got that shaky tire on your car and you're just driving it for an extra 10 minutes a day because that's what TikTok told you to do. That's what some trainer told you to do. You're not actually fixing the problem. So, your weak core isn't your fault. Stop training your core. Start assessing what those muscles are actually connected to, the bones, what they're controlled by, the nerves. Where do the nerves come from? The spine. We've got a stack of bones here, and if the thing isn't moving properly, it doesn't matter what exercise you do, what stretches you do, it's not going to fix the problem. So if this is something that you've been dealing with, if this is something that, man, just kind of strikes a chord with you, hey, I have been exercising a lot, and I'm not getting better. Maybe it's time to actually address the source of the problem. So if this is something that we can help you with, by all means, give us a call, walk right through that door, right here to Aspire Chiropractic. We're ready to help you when you're ready to be your best. Naturally.